Hey everyone, welcome back to MGS Coaching Football, and thank you for watching my channel, as I do really appreciate it. And if you've not watched my channel before, push that subscriber button, and it's free. You got everything to gain and nothing to lose. So today in my continuing drill playlist, I'm going to talk to you about it's a continuation, a spin-off of the long arm shed drill and the one-man sled. It's a situational drill to teach your linebackers in this case, but we can also do it with defensive backs as well as defensive linemen, okay, when they've got the long arm. If they're essentially walled off by a blocker and the ball disappears back inside, you got to teach your guys what to do, okay? And so the wipe across that we taught you yesterday in the long arm shed drill is not effective when they're walled off by the blocker's body position. So the boss drill on the one-man sled is a block destruction drill that teaches our guys what to do when they're in fact walled off. Okay, so what boss stands for is bounce or spin. Okay, bounce or spin. And this is, again, situational. This is not something you want your guys doing all the time against blocks that they have leverage on. This is one they got leverage on the gap side, but they're cut off and the ball disappears behind the blocker, right? So I'm going to start here with the coaching points, go through the diagram, okay, the drill setup execution, and then the technique. Okay, so there's a lot of so if you've watched my long arm shed drill, there's a tremendous amount of similarity between long arm shed drill and boss drill, except when the ball disappears behind the blocker. Okay, wipe would become a whip, as you'll see right now. And so if you have not seen my long arm shed drill, please watch it. Okay? So first up, the coaching points. Here's some of the similarities, right? You're going to start off with the long arm shed. I mean the long arm, not the shed, right? The long arm. You're going to lock out. You're going to have the same hand and foot. Everything's the same that way. So if my left arm is long, my left foot is up, and vice versa. Right arm long, right foot up. The difference now, you got to teach your guys how to recognize when they've been walled off. So if the ball disappears behind the blocker, they're going to use this technique without thinking about it. The term that we use, coach point, is peek through the gap and hold the edge. Be as late as possible on that spin, because you don't want to spin and have the ball bounce back gap side. Because running backs nowadays are very shifty. They'll cut and then cut twice and come back to the gap that they were in originally. Okay, so that's why we tell them that. Hold it and be late. Hold it and be late. You force the ball out of your gap, fantastic. Now we're going to teach you how to pursue, okay, when you've been walled off. So now before, we tell them to spin downfield, which I'll get to in the diagram, so they have a better angle. If they spin lateral, they're going to get picked up. They're going to spin right into the wall. So that's what we tell them. Okay, you got to learn how to spin to get around the wall. So that's downfield. Okay? So then, number 5, if the ball, see up here, I'll go to the diagram now. If the coach stays gap side, the ball, then it's the same. Okay, you're going to tear with the long arm, club and chop with the gap arm. There it is. That's the exact same as the long arm shed drill. Okay, however, here's the difference. See, so I'll just briefly touch on the drill setup. You set up the sled pad, handles face, all that same stuff, but now you're going to turn the sled more so it faces the linebackers to simulate that they've been walled off, so they can start to recognize the difference between the blockers a little more square, so you can wipe across, versus now his body's turned, creating a wall that he can prevent you from getting across, okay, or at least try to. So now when that happens, when the ball disappears behind, we use what's called a whip escape. And what that is, you're still going to tear, except now, right, you're going to tear here across your body a little bit more, because the whip is now your elbow with the gap arm. So tear and whip, it works together like this. and it brings both the shoulders and hips, or hips and shoulders, turned around, which I can't really do very well with the huddle graphics, okay? But you're here, you turn and whip, and see how it easily, automatically here, turn, you throw this elbow, tear and whip, and look what it does to the shoulders, right? I'm here, I tear and whip at the same time. It's a simultaneous movement. And it forces the feet, all the power points, the feet, the ankles, the knees, the hips, everything turns. And that's why we call it a whip escape, because of that whipping action with the gap side elbow. Okay? So when that ball disappears and you're walled off, we want you to use a whip escape. Okay, so then I just showed you the tear opposite, whip the gap elbow. And you also want to coach up whip the eyes. Okay, so as I'm doing this, whip the head around, whip your eyes so you can locate the back. You still got to teach them what to do with their eyes. Okay, and then as always, you want to work both directions. Okay, so that's why the setup is a little bit different. The sled's turn to try and simulate being walled off. So therefore, the defenders are a little bit more offset to try and show you that as well. So everything's the same as far as execution and setup. You line up the guys opposite the sled. The coach is here. The coach's foot's the movement key. Now, again, to keep guys honest, don't always go backside, or they're gonna whip before you even take a movement. So keep them honest. You know your guys best. You can try to make sure that they get one whip and one gap, but then they'll pick up on that as well. If you gap the first time, they'll expect the whip the second time. So just be alert and aware of all those things. If you want this to show up on the game tape, you got to make sure you're doing it in practice, okay? And so the boss block destruction technique, the tear part is the exact same as the long arm shed drill, all right, when it's a gap escape. But when it's a whip escape, you got to react to the coach and the ball carrier. When he goes opposite, behind the blocker, now you're going to whip, okay? And so the gap side elbow is the whip elbow to get those hips and shoulders around. And remember to whip the eyes. So if it's a gap escape or a whip escape, always finish with the sprint shimmy fit on the coach's backside hip. Okay? Alrighty, so any questions, please reach out to me, as it says up there, Coach MJ Sullivan at gmail.com, because I'd love to talk football with you.